Okay, I now have 6:30, so I will call our meeting to order. Ms. Branham, did we notify the media?
We did.
Thank you, and I do declare that we have a quorum with all board members present. Now we'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I do want to welcome everyone tonight. I'm always excited to see smiling faces in the crowd, so I'm glad that you're here. And we're going to start our meeting with our Tell Me Something Good. Tabitha, I'll let you go first.
Oh, wow. We've had some great weather lately. Haven't had much rain. I like it.
Mr. Jenkins?
So my wife and I have entered into a kitchen renovation that has been going on for longer than what we have ever thought, but we now have moved the fireplace, and now it's built, and now so we got one thing that's done in the kitchen, so we have a fireplace.
Check mark. That's
Check
great.
mark.
Mr. Carpenter?
Progressing.
You're good? My Tell Me Something Good is my oldest daughter is home for one night from school, so she's going to speak at the high school tomorrow, so I'm excited that she's here.
My something good will be that, I'm coaching the sporting clays team, so we had a great practice on Saturday. A lot of great guys that have come out, and it's going to be a great year for us. So,
Good. Ms. Dan?
My good is that God is continually healing my knee replacement.
nice.
Fantastic. Amen.
My something good is it is almost fall break.
No meeting in December. And a quick question.
You've been
That's
waiting
good.
all
Are we
month
taking
to
this
say that.
energy thing a little too serious? I mean, it's Jesus' birthday, people still, I pay for the lights.
All right, you heard it. Mr. Hughes is going to donate some lights
That's
for this
right.
Christmas tree. My guess is that we might have run out of time. I don't know. But I'm glad everyone's here tonight. I would like, we're going to have some of our Lawrence Elementary students lead us in the pledge, and I'll let Ms. Bragg, the principal of Lawrence Elementary, introduce them.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for leading us in the prayer. Or excuse me, not the prayer, in the pledge. And now we will move to our prayer. And Ms. Nance, will you lead us in prayer?
Let us pray. Our most graciously Heavenly Father, we come this evening, Lord God, giving you praise and glory. Father God, we ask your presence in this board meeting, Lord God. Give us the wisdom and the knowledge to make decisions for our district. Lord God, continue to cover us, this district, and keep us in your care. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Nance. Now we'll need approval for our minutes for the October 27th meeting. And Ms. Branham did send an update to those minutes, so they should be in your board packet. So if we could have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll say.
Thank you. Any question? All those in favor of approving the minutes for our October 27th board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. Thank you. And now I'll call up Miss Ashley Bragg for our Lawrence Elementary School report.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. It's always
evening.
nice to come and share the great things that are going on at Lawrence Elementary School. Even better when we have a packed house. Thank you for your time. All right, so I want to start off, obviously, our top priority at all schools are safety. So I want to highlight a few of the safety things that we have put into place this school year. We have alarms on our STARS classroom doors and delayed egress that notifies anybody as they go out and actually keeps the doors from opening without a fob. So it's nice to be able to make sure everybody stays where they're supposed to be. We also have recently, for the elementary schools, developed a gaggle. We've done some training on a gaggle monitoring system where when students are Googling things, putting things in documents, if there's anything that is troubling per se, it gives us a notification so that we can kind of check on that and make sure everything is okay. Sometimes it's just as simple as they are doing a research project, but sometimes obviously it may be something that we need to check a little bit further into. We also got the crosswalks painted, so now teachers, and particularly teachers, but also adults, can cross the road safely. This year we have put into place our safety patrol. So we have about 40 students that are 5th grade students. We have them on a 4-week rotation, so every week they change. During these times we have specific positions. Ms. Curry, my assistant principal, did a great job of training these students to know, what is expected, how to stay safe. They have their bright colored vests that they love to get when they come in. They take this job very seriously, I will say. They are also learning skills such as greeting others, the commitment to being there on their weeks, and being there on time so that they can get out to their duty spot. All right, my next slide is going to kind of highlight our school report card information. As you guys know, that we just recently got our school report card ratings, and I have just kind of put a broad where we were before and where we are now. We had huge growth during the year prior to me coming last year as the first year principal at Lawrence Elementary, growing 17 points, and this year we did drop 8 points. We went from average to below average. I told my team that there were 2 things that I was going to say, and one of those is the math ain't mathin', and the second one is they're only 1 point away from being average. So wanted to point that out for my team. But in all seriousness, when these results came out, we took these very personally. Obviously, at our school, we aren't below average. Our school's not below average, our teachers aren't below average, and obviously the achievement levels of our students. So we just have to put in some work to prove it now, which we are ready and willing to do. So what are we doing to help that? Well, the first thing that we're going to focus on is student growth. If you'll look back at the chart, our student growth, student progress is the main area that went down. So as we are working through student growth, we are looking at what we call win time or enrichment time. And during that time, we are focusing on layering instruction to give more intensive and explicit help, while also kind of saving that classroom instructional time. So it can get kind of tricky. We've had to be creative in some ways, as far as pulling groups to meet before school starts, pulling groups at the end of the day. We've all had to work as a team to make sure that the times that we're giving that extra instruction is not taking away from that Tier 1 instruction in the classroom. So we have taken an all-hands-on-deck approach with that. Everybody in the school is responsible for certain students, and even from the administration to interventionists to reading coaches, we are all pulling groups to help kind of give some more support to those students. So our school-wide content goals, we have 2 for reading. One is literary text and the other is vocabulary. In math, we are focusing on patterns, algebra and functional reasoning. This comes a lot with, we have noticed some fractions are some issues, especially in our upper grades, so we are focusing on that. The goal is for us to have high-quality instruction, obviously. We have a weekly ILT that meets. I did not put myself on this chart, but obviously I lead the ILTs weekly. My ILT is made up of my assistant principal, Ms. Downs, our reading coach. Dr. Harris is our district representative. And then we have 5 teaching specialists. And I wanted to make sure that I mentioned my teaching specialists because I wanted it to be clear how awesome they are. They teach classes full-time. They do some observations, and they also lead their planning meetings. They also are part of the ILT that comes, so they are basically the funnel of the school. So they take things and give things to me. They also take things that we say in ILT and push them out to their teachers. So it has really been beneficial for us to have our teaching specialists on board. One of our teaching specialists is also the District Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jamie Flanagan. She just went to a conference, so we look forward to meeting with her and getting even more strategies that she can bring to our ILT, and then in return push out to our other classroom teachers. So I mentioned already, but we also have cluster meetings once a week. These are grade level bands that come together and meet. With this cluster meetings, a big thing that we have focused on last year, we talked a great deal about what good teaching looks like. We used the South Carolina 4.0 rubric. We talked about what modeling looks like. We talked about what good teaching looked like using the curriculum that we have. This year, we're ready to go deeper than that. We know what teachers should look like. We know what the teaching should look like. Now we're focusing on what it is that we're teaching. We're looking at student work analysis, bringing in what our students are doing, taking a look at that, making sure it matches the rigor of the standard. Was the mastery achieved? And if not, what are we going to do in the classroom during our Tier 1 instruction to move those students? I have been particularly impressed with my teachers, the language that the conversations and the language that they're using. You can just tell that they are very deep in thought, having those conversations with each other about what our students need, where they are, and what we can all do as a group collectively to push them. So there's no doubt that growth is taking place, and I can't wait to see where that goes. So next is our school culture. We have a wonderful school culture. Related Arts this year is taking a big role with our school culture, planning culminating activities that include all of the arts. And then obviously when we're having those activities and events, we're inviting all stakeholders. Right now particularly, we have kindness turkeys going on, so we had turkey bodies outside doors. Each staff member got several feathers with staff names on the back, and they wrote letters of gratitude and put them up. And we also have a kindness bulletin board. As you can see there, 3 of our students are stopping by the bulletin board to write something kind to share it with each other. They have loved this time. It has been very, very beneficial. We also have Friday line dancing. That is led by Melissa Galt. If you guys didn't know, she is a pro at line dancing. So in the mornings when you come in before school starts, you may hear a little tune. That has been lots of fun. Students look forward to that Friday line dancing. Also, we have birthday shout-outs each morning, and we've also started doing some positive behavioral shout-outs. So that's been awesome to hear. The kids come in smiling really big, so they enjoy that. For community and family engagement, obviously these are some pictures from our open house and our Title I community presentation. In October, we had a family craft night where it was bring your own pumpkin, and we spent time decorating pumpkins. Some of us even decorated their own faces, and it was a good time. We had a really big turnout for the family craft night. We just had our Veterans Day program. This year we did 3 different programs. So we did one the evening before Veterans Day at 6. We also did a program during the day at 10, and then we did another one at 1:30. just to make sure that we included everyone and that everybody was able to come. All right. Upcoming events, we have a Christmas ornament night Thursday, December 11th. So if anybody is interested, please join us for the Christmas ornament night. And I believe that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bragger. Appreciate your
Thank you.
report.
Thank you.
All right, now I'll turn it over to Dr. Penland for district updates.
Sure thing. So, again, we are still building that 5-star culture of excellence and focusing on our academics, arts, athletics, attendance, and atmosphere. So we're going to start off with our academics, and it is my pleasure tonight that we're going to be addressing our Living the 5-Star Culture Writing Contest. At the beginning of the year and over the summer, we talked about being able to see how our students were living the 5-star culture of excellence and really wanting them to be able to express themselves with this. So we had a writing contest all the way through pre-K through 12th grade. And these are the people who came in and judged, and they gave a lot of their time. We had a lot of writing responses for students to be able to come in. So we had Miss Loveless Compton, Teresa Crabtree, Elma Madden, Edna Mathis, Lisa Chris, Edna McCarter, and Harold Ligon, and Miss Susan Calhoun Ware all came in and gave their time to judge our writing contest. So this year's, and I'm clicking Danny and nothing's happening. Oh, there we go. So living the 5-star culture, so we did a K2 writing prompt and then a 312 writing prompt. So the pre-K through 2, they said, how do you show kindness, teamwork, and responsibility at school, at home, or in your neighborhood? Tell a story or share a time when you or someone else made a good choice and helped others. And our 312 was, how do you live the 5-star culture of excellence in Lawrence 55 in your school, home, or community? Tell a story or share an experience that shows how you demonstrate or see these values in action. So what we did is we had everybody had the opportunity to write for this writing contest, and our schools did not have to judge them. They actually came to our district office, Teaching and Learning, went through the first round of judging, read them all, and then had a smaller stack for our judges to come through and judge. So whenever we're looking at some of the stories that were winners, we had things that our K2, or our pre-K, said, I'm helping my mom up the stairs. The next one was helping a friend pick up books that they had dropped in school. Another one was packing packets and gift bags for prisoners. One was to visit men and women at Martha Frank's and spend time with them. Then it was also spending time with your grandfather to show love, support, and connection, to give your best during most difficult times, and how to take those lessons from the classroom, from home to the classroom and to athletics. And Nora, which was our middle school winner, made a statement that stuck out to me. And she stated, I've learned that kindness does not have to be huge or complicated to matter. Sometimes just listening and sharing a smile is enough to connect with others in a meaningful way. And so I really wanted to share some of the highlights of their writing. And it's all on display out in the lobby. We'll put those on display here in the district office over the next several months. But please take time to see those and read those as you get ready to leave tonight. But I do want to recognize our winners, and we're going to come up one at a time so we can try to get some pictures, and then we'll do a group picture as we do that. So if anybody from the board wants to join me, that'd be great. So we'll start first with our pre-KK winner, Miss Emily Davis.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you, babe. I'm out too.
So cute.
All right, next we have Varya Simon Cheeks, first, second grade winner from Greycourt. All right, now we have Miss Isla Bryson Jones. 'All right, next we have Miss Nora Grace Cody. And Miss Maddie Lawson, 9 through 12.
Little shy.
But you did a fabulous job with your picture and your writing of your mom helping your mom up the stairs, right? Congratulations again to our awesome writers. Last Friday, we had the pleasure to have our NJROTC present their pass and review at the high school. They did a fabulous job, and I'd like to commend Commander Borden and Senior Chief Flood for their work with our NJROTC and everything that they did to make it a special occasion to show off everything that they've been doing with the NJROTC at the high school. I would like to showcase the arts. We had our region orchestra this past weekend, or actually, Saturday. So we had 8 students make region orchestra. Mr. Will Brink from 8th grade was part of the region orchestra and selected there. And I want to share, this is the region orchestra for their middle school, and I just want to share a little short clip of them. So for region orchestra, they have to try out through the school that they will go to, and then there's 5 regions in the state, and they're selected based on their quality and 12 chairs for each one of those sections. And Will was 5th chair and selected in our region, and they had a day and a half to practice together. So they were sent their music ahead of time, and they had to practice before they went, and then the orchestra leader there put them all together and had an amazing time. So that was our one student that made middle school region. And then we had our region orchestra, 7 students from the high school made it. So we had Jalen Jones, Dylan Eckleve, Corbin Hilton, Jay Williams, Ladiah Morris Gormez, Dylan Brink, and Avery Burrell. And so they, that's their pictures there. And so that's Dylan, that's Dylan Eckleve. And then you have Jalen, and you have Dylan Brink, and I couldn't get the rest of them from where I was sitting. And then you have the group again over there on the right. And so Saturday I had the pleasure to go watch them. And this was a little snip from the high school group. And like I said, they had probably 36 hours to practice. They practiced Friday and then Saturday morning with all the groups together, and it was an amazing concert for all three levels. We didn't have anybody participate in the 9-10, but our highest ranked chair here was Jalen Jones, and she was third chair. So very, very well performed, and very great performances by our students.
That could have been our prelude music. Our prelude music.
That could have been our prelude music, yeah. So we're talking about we needed some music to start the meetings with, so y'all remind me for January. So some five-star athletics where we're looking at, we had senior Nemo Fernandez make the Touchdown Club Player of the Week for October 31st. Our cross-country team competed in state. They finished 14th as a team, and Cody Patterson finished 16th as an individual, and Hunter Power as 19th as an individual. So very good showing for our state, for our cross-country team at the high school. We also have State Bound, our cheerleading competition team. They performed this past weekend at the state qualifier, and they met the state requirements to be advanced to next weekend. I think Saturday at 10:30 or 12:30. I'm not sure when they compete. All right, and so just a reminder about our November, December attendance. Today is the 17th, so this time next week we will be off. And so we'll have fall break all week next week, and then we'll come back and have 3 weeks with half day being the 19th, and then our 2 weeks for Christmas break with teachers returning on the 5th, students returning on the 6th of January, with our next early release day on the 27th of January. All right, and I'm clicking away. I did want to highlight our Veterans Day. Ms. Bragg did say that they had their performances at their school, but whenever I was able to make it to 4 or 5 different schools to see how our fine arts group honored our veterans, and it was very well done by all of our schools that we were able to see, and we had our cabinet representatives at all of our sites too. So it was just very good, and I appreciate everything that the veterans do. All right, any questions for me? I'll turn it over to Ms. Lackrose.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm here just to talk about the 2025 South Carolina report cards and what they look like for Lawrence 55. I thought I'd talk a little bit, give some reminders of what the South Carolina report cards are, why we have them. We'll talk a little bit about our 2025 ratings and how they're different from 2024, and a little bit of some hidden picture and then next steps. So that's the plan. So just as a reminder, the South Carolina report cards were established in the early 2000s. They were redesigned in 2018, so that's really when this format pretty much started. Report cards are updated annually. They're updated to reflect, obviously, changes in state standards, but also in accountability requirements. So there is a new accountability manual each year because they change things just a little bit every year. We have different performance ratings: excellent, good, average, below average, unsatisfactory. For any school that is either below average, receives a rating of below average or unsatisfactory, they then are required to do a school improvement plan. All of our schools do school improvement plans, but this report card helps all of us, all 9 schools, to really identify our areas that we want to target for this coming year, as well as tell us where we're doing really well, and highlighting those strengths, and then giving us some guidance when it comes to planning for a variety of things, whether it's for funding or whether it's for professional development or staffing or anything like that. So just to give you a little bit about how this is figured, each report card you can get up to 100 points. This is in the packet that we sent out last week, so if you want to dig in there at all, I did provide a lot of background to you last week with the addition of the district report card piece, which I believe starts on page 31. And that goes for several pages. But at the elementary school and middle schools, they accumulate points towards their overall 100 points the same way. In academic achievement is 35 points, and I'm going to jump down to student progress is also 35 points. Those are both directly tied to English language arts and mathematics achievement and how students grow in those. And so that's 70% of the ratings. There are 10 points for preparing success, which is the science. And so we have science in 4th grade and in 6th grade. We have English learners student progress, and those are 10 points for any school that has at least 20 students that are multilingual. If they do not have 20 students that are taking state assessment that year, then those points are divided up between academic achievement and student progress. So again, there's a large chunk. Then there's school climate, which is 10. In order to have a rating of, say, average, at the elementary school, they have to have a 42. At the middle school, I believe, if I can see on my sheet, because I can't see from here. Oh, I can see it right here, sorry. They need to have a 36. So it's a little bit different, and those are identified by the state. Each accountability manual, usually they stay relatively the same. At the high school, you notice is completely different, not completely different, but very different. They have academic achievement, which is 25 of their points, which is English 2 and Algebra 1. Preparing for success also is science, but it also includes social studies. They have English language learners, they have school climate, and then they have 3 other categories, and these other 3 categories are very significant indicators when talking about a successful high school: graduation rate, college and career readiness, and then of course high school student success. In other words, how on track are students to being ready to graduate on time. So with that, I'm going to share with you our ratings for this year. At the top of the chart is where we started in 2023 with ratings. Last year's are right in the middle, 2024. And then 2025, you can see our ratings for this past school year. We went from 55% of our schools being average or above last year to 64% being average or above this year. So we were pleased with that. You'll notice that both EB and Lawrence Middle School were identified as underperforming schools and needed to do an improvement plan last year. They did that, and they are no longer in the category for needing to do that improvement plan that has to go to the state. You'll notice we have 2 schools that are right now identified as below average, but they're, as Ms. Bragg pointed out, they're there by 1 point. So we're really close, making a lot of progress, so we're pleased with that. The biggest differences, I would say, for you to know between 2024 and 2025, and then I'll stop for a minute to see if there's questions, because some of this can get a little bit confusing. As far as I mentioned at the beginning that the accountability manual is done every year, and there's some changes that are done. Preparing for success last school year, which was 10 points, if you refer back to the previous slide here, preparing for success is science at the elementary, middle school. And this year, preparing for success, we were able to get points for that, either for 4th grade science or 6th grade science. Last year, there were no points for preparing for success because that was the first year that we gave the science assessment with the new standards. And so it was a pilot, and therefore those 10 points were split between the academic achievement and the student progress. So some of that is not as comparable, but as I mentioned, we have these situations each year. Another major situation for us this year is 1/3 of our ELA student progress points are missing from the calculation because there was no baseline because they were brand new standards. So half of the 35 points for student progress in English language arts Middle School are calculated, the 35 points, 17 and a half of them are for English language arts, 17 and a half are for math. Of those 17 and a half points, I believe it's about 6 points were not calculated the same way. And that's important to note for when I get to my next slide. As far as improvements, as I mentioned, we had 55 to 64% of our schools are average or above now compared to last year. Lawrence Middle and EB are no longer identified as underperforming schools. Lawrence Middle led the pack this year with a 5-point improvement in their South Carolina report card rating points. Lawrence High School and Gray Court Middle were not far behind with an additional 4 points. I think the biggest improvement, especially at the high school, was our graduation rate and our college and career ready ratings, and how I mentioned that those 3 categories are very important because they really are reflective of the entire pre-K to 12 program. And are our students ready for college? Are they ready for careers? Are they graduating, and are they graduating on time? So you'll see those a little bit, how they've really jumped. Areas of concern, obviously, are we still have 4 schools that are identified as underperforming, so they will need to do a continuous improvement plan. The designations from the state were held off for about an additional 3 weeks. They did not release them, if you recall. They were supposed to release them in the middle of October. They didn't release them until the beginning of November. By doing that, we were not allowed then to release what our ratings were. And so one of the things that we need to do is we are currently notifying all schools, all parents of designations in any of those 4 schools. We have school plans that are already written. As I've mentioned a number of times that I'm up here, we have school improvement plans. We start writing them in July. We revamp them again in October when we get our final SC ready and our school report card ratings. And then what we do is we send them out to the community and for feedback. So that's what's going to happen when we come back from Thanksgiving for these 4 schools. Another area, and I talked about this September when I was here for assessment, math achievement is obviously an area that we need to focus on. Multilingual learner progress, as well as some of our subgroups. And those would be our race groups, or our multilingual learners, or special education subgroups, things like that we want to really focus on. So I'm going to stop a second right here to see if you have questions about these pieces, or if that makes sense, because I know you had some of this before.
I think you stated that the Lawrence Elementary was improved, had from the unperforming list to performing, right?
No, so back in 2023, they were an unsatisfactory, and they went to average last year, and they slipped a little bit this year, so they're just below average by 1 point. So then that's what Ms. Bragg was talking about earlier, is that now they know this is what we need to do, and they know they're not below average. They know that their students are not below average, their teachers aren't, or their school isn't. Now they're just going to prove it. So that's kind of what she was talking about today, all those things that they're going to do to address that. And that's really very similar to a lot of the things that you'll find in the improvement plans, or the different things that they're talking about. You'll notice that her presentation today was very heavy in the academics and what they're doing to improve instruction, what they're doing to better meet the needs of the individual students. And that's what these plans are designed to do.
I have one question.
Yep, go ahead.
For Ford, GCO Elementary, and LDHS, the past 3 years, they've been below average. When was the last time, we don't have access to the data prior to that in front of us, when was the last time that those schools were at any higher rating? And if you don't have it in front of you, that's okay. You can, follow up with that later in an email. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll have to check, because I haven't gone all the way back to 2018 in front of me right here.
Okay.
I have it on my computer.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. I was just curious.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I mentioned student progress is 35 points, so that's just as much as proficiency. And student progress is calculated a couple of different ways. They compare a student to other students that started at the same place as they are, so there's really no way to predict that. But then there's also another category that takes our lowest 20% and then compares them to the same lowest 20% and how did they grow, as well as they will predict out if I'm in 3rd grade and I am not proficient and I need to be proficient within 2 years, what do I need to be the next year? And so that's the piece that they weren't able to calculate. What I want to show you right here is, this is a graph that you're thinking, oh, this doesn't look good, but this is actually what we want. So this is our does not meet group of students. So let's take E.B. Morris all the way over on the left-hand side. E.B. Morris did extremely well. If you recall, back in September, they had some of the highest growth in English language arts as far as proficiency. What this graph is showing that EB in 3rd grade in 2024, that blue bar was a little bit over 40% of their students were in the lowest performing category that you could have. So that's not good. We don't want 40% of our students in does not meet. This past year, they were all the way down to almost 10%. That is huge growth. They didn't get credit for about 1/3 of that growth on this year's report card. And so, you know, we were all feeling as administrators that we really felt like our schools did a really great job in growing and our students were moving and our math data was showing that they were improving. And we were surprised at first when we looked at the report card, and then when we dug in, we realized they weren't getting credit for 1/3 of all of that growth. So you see that pretty significantly in EB, in Ford, in Gray Court, in Hickory Taverns, 3rd grade. You see it in Lawrence Elementary. There's some significant growth of decreasing the number of students that are in does not meet, which is exactly what we need to do and we want to do. They will count double for us when we make that improvement. And the whole reason for that is there was not English language arts standards to establish a baseline last year. So those were established this year. So moving forward, we will get credit for this kind of growth, okay? But also our groups are smaller, so you know they're not gonna drop as much. I also want you to realize that this year is our first year of math, and this is going to happen again next year, but it will be in math. So
Can you explain for me you see EBC 3, 4, 5?
that's grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5.
Okay.
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Okay.
So, I did talk a little bit about the.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
So next year, we should really be up.
If we continue on this trajectory, absolutely.
Okay, and I'm saying that because when I went to the national in 21, when everybody was doing all this fussing about how poorly schools were doing, that was a national thing. And the experts were saying it would be 3 years coming off of COVID because the schools were closed down. So it would take at least 3 years to get those schools back up. So next year, I expect those schools to be markedly upgraded because that's what we were told by the experts.
It sounds great to me. We're well on our way. So, and they're right. It's 3 to 5 years whenever you see a change. I think the other thing to note that you'll see here is 3rd grade is the first group of students that have had letters every year since they came in. Kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So we're seeing that transition of the curriculum to that approach to teaching reading is making a significant difference for our students. So that's good. I did talk a little bit about the high school as far as college and career ready. And you will notice this thing cuts off a little bit of the bottom, so you can't see the bottom of the slide. But our graduation rate increased to 84% this year. From last year, we were 83-something, but we got an additional 0.55 points. Believe it or not, that's very important. Gray Court is off by 0.2. I know you all see a 41, but they actually have 41.8 are their number of points for the report card, and they need a 42. So 0.55 is significant number because it helps overall when we're adding. College and career readiness, we went up by 2.11 points, and then school student success went up by 1.42 points. And what I want to really say about that is the high school made a major effort last year to focus on college and career ready, to make sure that they were following up with their students on a monthly basis to identify who had met the standards for college and career ready, encourage them to take those exams, whether it was ASVAB or ACT or PSAT, or to enroll in dual enrollment courses, to make sure that they had those credentials and certificates and things when they left the high school to demonstrate that they are college and career ready, and it shows right there on the report card. So they went up a total of 4.08 points on college and career ready factors, and that's what the big difference was in their growth this year. So we were really pleased to see that and expect it to continue. You know, we don't always look at what's great. We also look at where we need to improve. Multilingual learner progress is definitely an area that we need to focus on, and we need to see some marked improvement. Each year, the students are given an exam. It's called the Access Test, and it assesses students in 4 different areas. Anybody who's a multilingual learner is someone who, in the house, they speak something other than Spanish, or they speak something other than than English. 98% of our students that are multilingual learners do speak Spanish or some form of Spanish. But our multilingual teachers, we need to assess them each year, and they're assessed in 4 different areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Ms. Blackhurst,
Yep.
what page are you on? I don't see that in the slide deck that we were sent.
29,
It's
What page?
29,
Thank you. We're not in order, so I was,
29 and 30.
number 9.
couldn't find it. Thank you.
So in multilingual learner progress, you can see, and I went all the way back to 2019 because I think it's important to kind of see the trajectory of this. The first graph really talks about when a student starts the multilingual program, whether it's because they started in kindergarten, because they just started with us, or they moved into the country, they have 5 years to demonstrate proficiency in learning the language, and that would mean they would get a 4.4 or higher on the access test. When students do that, then they've met progress towards proficiency. So each year there's a certain number of points that they should get to be able to reach that. And that's what that first chart is. And this second chart is how many students actually reached proficiency each year. I also have on the bottom that is the state average, so you can kind of see where the predictions are of what might be reasonable in what others are experiencing in the state, and so we're still below that state average as well. So this is definitely an area of concern that we will work on this year and continue to work on. So what are our next steps? I had mentioned that all schools are updating their school improvement plans with this additional information. You know, we start each year with school plans. Our school improvement plans are also our strategic plans that the schools do. Any school that is labeled underperforming are currently sending the letters home to parents if they haven't already. A lot of them did it last week. Where we will be sharing improvement plans with the community for input, and then those finalized plans will be presented to the board in January. The plan was they would come to you tonight, but when the state pushed off that rating, we weren't able to go to the public, and we don't want to shorten the time that this can go out to parents and let them have some input. So district-wide, our focus is definitely on the new South Carolina mathematics standards, the curriculum alignment, and then the instructional strategies that we're using to support that. Also, I was just talking about how we're focusing on multilingual learners in their language acquisition. We're taking a look at the delivery model that we currently have, as well as general education teacher training. Because multilingual learners may have 30 minutes with an ML teacher, but they're in the regular classroom, all the other times, what other things are we doing and supports do we have in place? And then finally, our schools are beginning to identify the various subgroups that are showing that they need some improvement by creating action plans to improve their performance. So last week, we had representatives from every school at a collaborative training with Lawrence 56 to start to look at our subgroups and identify who are our students that are in our subgroups and whether if they're performing close to their peers, and if they're not, what can we do differently to better help them have the same level of achievement as their peers. So I talked a lot, and I know it's a lot of information. So I don't know if you have questions.
One question. You are in the, I think you can answer. Do we have a heart rating of where we are as compared to other districts in the state?
The state does not publish a summary. I mean, they publish a district report card, but they do not rank you or give you an excellent, unsatisfactory for districts. So they have not done a district level report card. I mean, rating. We have ratings on each one of those subgroups and that type of thing. But I mean, we would fall in different areas. Yeah.
But I understand that they never meet the rating.
Mhm.
I'm trying to say big that. But we're still, they still have a rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 47 counties.
They rate based on like number of points and that kind of stuff. I have not looked at that rating to see, you know, how the number of points for each, which we don't get points for district report card. So they will do some ratings for different groups will do that rating, but they have not actually done that through the state.
Okay, well, last year we were complaining about being somewhere around the 25 and 30. I don't know, have we increased that?
We were never 25, 30. I think last year, whenever we looked at, you might be talking about School Digger. School Digger is one of those that kind of rate based on the data that they get. So they issued another rating back in September, which was before the report cards were pushed out. Last year we were 63rd. This year we're 61st. So we
61st?
Yes, sir. So we did improve two, but not nearly as much as we did. And so I don't know if they utilized all the data that was already released or that was going to be released from the state report card or not.
I know that there have been a lot of changes with budget cuts and teachers, but are we making sure that these schools that are below average, that they're getting the support that they need?
So I do know that we did a lot of kind of deciding, you know, do we keep teacher specialists? Do we keep instructional coaches? Do we keep interventionists? And so we tried to balance that based on, you know, the needs and trying to allow that. But do we have the level of tier 3 supports that we had? No, because we did cut some of those. So that's just something that we'll have to continue to look at as we move forward for those lowest performing students to see if there's additional supports we need to put in place.
Yeah, we may need to go back to the drawing board and look at that.
Okay.
One of the things I did notice in looking at, online at the state report card was the information related to inexperienced principals or teachers in underperforming or below average schools. And our numbers, from what I can recall, I don't have it in front of me, went up in that area. And there's criteria listed there as far as what they consider inexperienced. So
Do we have any data to support that?
I was just reading it off the state report card. So I'm not sure what data we put in for them to make that decision.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and pull that matrix.
It's
Or
a school
metrics.
summary. It's the school summary and the district summary. So, but, you know, I mean, we had a first-year principal who had the highest growth in the district, in their school. And then the second highest in the district was another first-year principal. So, you know, statistically, Lawrence Middle was a first-year principal and had the highest growth in the district on the state report card. And then at Gray Court was also a first-year principal, and they had the second highest growth along with the high school. So statistically, like research-wise, yes, that is usually true. I just don't think that was the case here in Lawrence 55 based on that data. So.
Well, if that is the case, then I do think that's what the report card states, though. So whatever we gave them, that's what it spit out.
That
That
the
we had
experience level of our principals went down?
in the lower performing schools, yes.
That-
I'd have to pull
Yeah,
that,
that
yeah.
would be true, because at the time, the Lawrence Middle would have been labeled an underperforming school when they became the principal. So that might be where they're counting it. I can go back and check and see where they're counting that from. So if they were counting last year, then I would say, yes, that's true.
That makes
Right,
sense.
so in
Okay.
24-25, an underperforming school had a first-year principal at Lawrence Middle, but ended up with the highest growth. So next year, it won't say that, I think, because they'll be looking at the 2025. That makes sense? I'll go back and check.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Lockrose. I appreciate your report.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to board operations. So we've got 2 items from Dr. Penland.
Okay, so the first one is an update on Administrative Rule IJOA-R. You were sent this one in your packet. It's for information only, but we have made one change since you received your packet so that we can just clarify a timeline. But this is the field trip one on the Administrative Rule, just cleaning that up to match our field trip form based on approvals of who has to approve the out-of-county, out-of-state trips if it's overnight, putting some timelines in here for making sure that they have approval before they send it home to the parents, asking and telling them that they've already have it, including the information on sled checks and the requirements for that information. If you look at the teacher responsibility, which is page 3, the last bullet where it says, in the event of any unusual circumstances occurring on the trip, we have put in there, the teacher will call and report to administration, and a written report will be submitted the next day that they are returned to school. So if it is an overnight trip, you know, whenever they return to school, they have 1 day from returning to school there. So that is the only additional change that we made in that section. So that one is for information only. The next policy that you have in your packet is actually referring to policy EF, food services. That is one that we approved second reading last month, but in that second reading, it stated that we had to come up with a resolution basically saying and stating that we would be participating in CEP, the Community Eligibility Provision, which provides free lunch for all of our students. You will find the resolution in your packet that basically says that we will, as a district, be participating with CEP. You also have listed there all of your district's pupil and poverty index, which has Ford at 89.8, EB 89.3, all the way to Hickory Tavern at 73. Our district CEP, or actually our district pupils and poverty index is right at 79.2 or 3, which rounds to 80%. And we would need board approval on this resolution.
Is this a resolution that we will need to do every year, or is this a one-time resolution?
This is
Or do we
every
know?
year, and this is an annual resolution that we would typically have done during the summer to participate for the school year, but with the update from the policy just coming out from School Boards Association, we went ahead and just did this resolution after we approved the policy.
Okay, thank you. So with that, if there's any questions or discussion, Otherwise, if we could get a motion to approve the CEP resolution.
I'll make a motion that we accept the CEP resolution.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the CEP resolution related to policy EF, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's approved. Thank you.
All right, your next item on the agenda will be our monthly finance report. If you turn to the cash flow page in your packet, you'll basically see that as of 10/31/2025, the end of October, we had $5,146,818 on hand with the treasurer. Our general fund revenue and expenditure report, we had revenues of $14,028,103 with expenditures of $15,916,783 with a difference of $1,888,680. You can see that we had a little bit higher revenue than last year and a little bit lower expenditures from last year. And so that's almost $1 million difference in revenue versus expenditures from year to date last year. You can see our tax collections as of 10/31 we are $1,611,249. Any questions on the cash flow statement? All right, next page you'll see budget to actual. This is your expenditure page. This is the one that has the pink and yellow highlights on it. We'll start with the pink and red highlights first. Those are the areas that as of 10/31 we should be at a goal remaining of 66.7% remaining would be the goal, is if everything was kind of divided equally. You can see that there are a few that are under the 66%, which one being workers' comp at 50%. We make 2 payments each year on that, and so we've paid half of that already. The other half will come due in the spring. You also see in the repairs and maintenance we're at 60%, and a lot of that was beginning of the year maintenance at the that we were a little bit below there. You'll see other purchase services at 390 is at 58%. That has a lot of the trash services included in there that we've already prepaid for pickup, and membership organization dues down at the bottom is at 37%, and mostly those are one-time payments at the beginning of the year to become members, and so that does not feel like that's going to be out of line for the year. The tort liability insurance, that is a 0% remaining. I am going to request in just a minute, whenever we go into the budget amendment, to move some funding for that, to make that at a 0%, which would be a $29,000 move, because of that included the SCISBIT insurance and also student insurance, and we were 28,000 and something short on that whenever we did our budget. So any questions on the expenditure, the pink notations or the red notations?
The liability and tort insurance, is that a one-time payment?
Those are.
So once
Yeah,
this
so
transaction is made, then
yes, ma'am.
that will
We
be
would have
rolled
paid
into that.
SCISBIT and for our annual school student insurance.
Okay.
All right. The last page in your is your budget to actual revenue. You can see we've received 23% of our revenue for the year, and most of those come in at different times throughout the year, and so don't really have a that's not a true 66%, I mean a 33% of what we should have already received, but you can see where our revenue has been coming from and where we are with each one of those. I know a lot of local funding will be coming in now because everybody's received their tax notices, and they'll start paying November, December, and January. So those will be our biggest tax.
Were we looking for a FEMA reimbursement?
FEMA reimbursement, we have gotten part of that, but we have not received all of that yet. And I was trying to see if that was in here.
I
I know we've received some of that, but we have not received it all.
I don't see anything on
Yes,
there.
What
about
line
it.
item would that hit to?
It would be an insurance, I'll have to get with, Brian on that one, or Debbie, to make sure that, I'll let y'all know that one. All right, any other questions about the revenue expenditure monthly financial statements?
No, I have questions. Are we working to hire a financial?
Yes, sir. That job has been posted, and so, it was posted, end of last week, first part of this week, or end of last week sometime, and so, hopefully interview in the next week or two, or right shortly after Thanksgiving. All right, so now I'll go into the, budget amendment, request. If you go back to your budget to actual comparison, based on board policy, I'm allowed to make transfers within the same, let me find this, function, but would need, authority to change that to, different, function, object codes. And so, these would be object code amendments. It is a zero-based, budget amendment. And most of these, the top, yellow lines that you see there are, changes from a salaried person that we have hired in-house versus changing and swapping over to a contracted service person. So you can see that that's why you have the 100s and 200s, which 100s are salaries, 200s are benefits, swapping over to 300s, which would be student services and instructional services. Both of those would be contracted services. So you can see up top, we're making those swaps from a hired person through our own department versus having a contract with them. And then at the bottom, you can see that the $29,000 to cover the tort insurance, that is actually coming out of a 690 other object where we had a little bit of reserve for things that would come up. And that 690 covers drug testing, academic, athletic supplies, accreditation, driver physicals, and also had a little bit of reserve in that. So that's how we're able to move that 29,000 there. That would need an approval for an amendment to the budget, but like I said, it's a zero-based amendment to just swap from object code to object code.
Okay, based on the information in front of us, under the budget to actual comparison, Dr. Pendleton is speaking specifically regarding those line items that are highlighted in yellow, and it lists as the November amendment. If we could get a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the budget amendments as outlined.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the budget amendment that is outlined in our packet, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain?
Thank you. The motion carries. Okay. And Ms. Brandon, just to confirm, we had no public participation? That's correct. Okay. So at this time, with no public participation, it's time to move into executive session. If we could get a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion, we move into executive session.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving into executive session, please say aye. Any opposed?
I'd request Dr. Harris and Ms. Madden to join us.
Thank you. Sure thing. Okay, oh my gosh, it's 9:27. I'll call us back into order. Okay, we actually have a few things to handle from executive session. The first order of business, we do have some certified contracts and retirement lists that we need to approve. If we could get a motion for that.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussions? All those in favor of approving the certified employee contract list and the retirement list that we were provided, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved. The next order of business would be the superintendent's annual evaluation. And we completed his evaluation, and we came up with an evaluation of minimally effective. And at this point, we will be maintaining his contract and his salary just as it is. And we look forward to the next year and the improvements and the momentum that we're going to carry on in the district, because we know that Dr. Penland can do it. So we appreciate everything you do, and that's it. Anybody have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just acknowledge too, that it's been a tough year. I think we can all say that there's some circumstances that we could have never predicted, and I know it's been tough. There's a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to grow, and I'm confident in Dr. Penland, the staff, our teachers, that we're going to get this thing turned around, and I'm hoping that this time next year it's going to be a very different outlook.
Absolutely.
Counting on it.
All right. Thank everyone. And with no further business on our agenda, I will adjourn us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.